So, this video is going to be addressing, I'm going to be talking about some of the things that are pretty serious issues with the two-party system that we have for politics here in America. The reason I'm making this video is because of the fact that it is getting to the point where something needs to be said about this in America, at least at the moment. We have had for a while now a two-party system of politics, and while there are positive things, achievements, accomplishments that can be attributed to both parties from, different times throughout history. The main point that I want to illustrate here is I was listening to Donald Trump and Joe Biden talking about just different things, and one of the things that I notice primarily these days when I'm watching these types of things, any types of interviews, or we'll be watching the debates later on this evening, because I like to see what the different things are that are being said by both sides. I honestly do like to give a fair chance to both parties, but it's just, I don't believe in the two-party system, or at the very least, I don't believe that a two-party system is the best choice for a country with such a diverse culture. I mean, America is a melting pot. We have people in this country from everywhere. I guess the point that I'm trying to make is when I've watched these two men talking about whatever it is that they've been talking about here and there throughout this campaign, I've noticed that a lot of the folks on the Democratic side are primarily focused on talking about the issues, the corruption that we have going on in the government, the massive wealth inequality and racial and gender inequality and all these types of things. And they're talking about actual concrete ideas and ideals and issues that they believe are important to shape this country into a better place, what they believe to be a better place. And people on, the other side may disagree with that, but the thing that I've noticed primarily with the Republicans throughout this entire process is that they tend to fall back on just attacking the other side. And then there are times where you'll hear Trump say things like, well, the Democrats would do this, so we're going to do it. And it's like, well, they have this very, I don't know, there's a lot of it's like a divided mindset, I guess. Like, it's almost like being in a house divided against itself, being in the Republican Party. Or, I don't know, it's very confusing. It's very confusing because they're not consistent with the standards that they hold people to, which makes it kind of difficult to know how they're going to react to anything, really. But I guess the main thing that I want to illustrate here today in this video is that I want to discourage the idea of attacking people. There's another YouTuber who was talking about this, and it's true. It's very true. We have to stop focusing on the people. I mean, granted, if they've done something heinous that, is a crime or something to that nature, obviously that's a different story, but we should stop focusing on people and attacking each other, political rivals attacking each other on them as a person, instead of the actual issues and the facts of the matter that are happening, in our country that's affecting everyone. I mean, and honestly, I personally think that we need to abolish the Electoral College because, as it's been noted in several places, several studies and articles and books have been published on the subject. You could give it a Google, but the Electoral College has several issues. One of the main ones being that it disproportionately represents cities versus rural areas do not have an equal number of votes according to population, which makes it very, very much, we have it, a system that leans toward aiding the conservatives and giving more votes to less people in rural areas, which is just completely illogical and unfair. If we're all equal, if all men are created equal, like the Constitution says, then that's definitely not the case for several reasons in this country. And we really need to be on the road to fixing that issue. But the Electoral College makes no sense. We need to abolish that. We need to make voting easier. I mean, it's a controversial subject of, any kind of changing to the traditional norm, status quo, of how we vote. But I think it should be done through some sort of, I don't know, some sort of online mechanism that would make it more easily available to everyone, and you wouldn't have to go anywhere, unless, of course, I guess you didn't have internet, in which you could go to somewhere with Wi-Fi. At least that's not too bad. It's not like, you have a lot more options trying to find somewhere with Wi-Fi than trying to find a polling place. I just found out recently that in my county there is no early voting whatsoever. There's no polling place that has early voting in my county, so I'm having difficulty just finding a way to actually vote. My vote in the primary, which actually was the first vote I've ever cast, which I'll get into that in a whole other video. I'll do a whole video on voting, but my point primarily here is that the Republicans and the Democrats need to understand. You need to listen to the things that Trump is saying, for starters, about, if you just take the Democratic-run states out of the numbers for the coronavirus cases, we're doing great. You can't do that. You're the president of the entire United States of America. The entire idea of having a president is that he represents, fights for the rights of, and unifies the people of the country. That's his entire role. And the thing is, with the president calling everything fake news and trying to divert attention from his tax records and all of these things, trying to accuse Joe Biden of taking drugs or whatever it is, I'll just say this. He shouldn't, none of us on any side should be accusing each other of, crazy wild stuff instead of just focusing on the issues. There's no need for that. Everything should be fact-checked. It's a shame the debates aren't going to be fact-checked. That would be hilarious and incredibly advantageous to anyone who actually wants to know the truth about what these people are saying, when they are going to be running the country after all. I mean, but I digress. My main point, I think I've pretty much made the point, but my main point is just primarily that people need to focus on the issues. Simply that. The YouTuber I was talking about earlier posed a phenomenally well thought out little thought experiment where he was talking about, just imagine AOC or any of these people, Kamala Harris, and try to think of anything that you do have in common, that you do agree with them about, instead of just the things that you don't like or disagree with them about. Because oftentimes it gets made about the people themselves, as a person, which is important, but it's not as important as the actual facts of where they stand politically on specific issues. We've gotten too far in this country from the actual issues because it's all a distraction. It's all smoke and mirrors. They don't want you to think about, you know, a lot of that stuff. And I don't, not to sound like a conspiracy nut or anything, but politicians in general have a spectacular way of really not answering a question when they're asked a question directly. They have a way of making it seem like they answered the question when they really didn't say anything. And people know this. This isn't anything new. But yeah, that's pretty much it, you guys. Just look into the actual issues. Look into the actual issues. And for sure, any of you guys who want me to talk about my feelings on specific topics or issues or whatever it is, don't forget to subscribe, comment, hit that like button, and yeah, take it easy.